In this video, I will show you how to make the easiest face rig ever that works great on non-realistic character and display helmet, using only character and strings. As a bonus, I will even show you how I made this animated screen texture that works great with this type of rig. So to start, let's do a new scene, delete everything, and then add a shape for our helmet. Let's start with a sphere in this case, and add the subdivision modifier. Then in edit mode, select the area where you want your screen to be, duplicate it, and then make it its own object. This will be your screen for later. You can then hide it and go back on your helmet. Select the same area and then extrude it inward. Then press S, Y, and 0 to flatten it. You can then add an edge loop to reshape it a bit. This is where a screen will go. Okay, let's add both of those for now. Add the plane and scale it down a bit. This will be for a face rig. Add a geometry node and go to the geometry node editor. Then add a slice string and a string to curve. And connect them. You can now write anything in your string and it will display on screen. But it's pretty flat, so let's add a fill curve to fill in the shape. Then extrude mesh to give it some dimension. Adjust the offset to what you like. And then a set material if you want to give it some color. You can then create your material and assign it there. That's pretty much your setup. So now in the string, you can just go in there and write any character you might want to use for your face. Things you could use for your eyes, mouth, or nose. You can then see them display here. And if you reduce the length to 1 and change the position, you can see that we're going through the characters. You can now press I on it to animate it. With this technique, you can easily animate through the string and change your rig as you desire. Then I like to center everything in the middle. And select the font you like. You can even download more font from internet if you desire. The rest you don't really need to touch. You can adjust the size here if you like, but since this is a plane, you can just scale it as you like, directly in object mode. You will be able to use the scaling to animate them a bit more. So rename this to whatever part you like. In this case, it's my left eye. And bring everything back. Bring it in front the best you can. And then activate snapping, face project. So this snaps to your screen. You can then scale it and move it as you like. And duplicate another one for the other eyes. It looks pretty good, but you can see that both eyes are linked and are animating together. To change that, just go to your modifier and click on this number to make it its own geometry node. Now, if you go back in there and animate it, you will see that the animation is only applying to this eye. Feel free to add another one for the mouth or the nose if you want to. And repeat the same process. Like mentioned, you can also scale it and move it as you like for an added layer of animation. I will talk about the colors in just a bit. But before that, let me show you how I did the screen. Okay, so for the screen, I go to the shader editor. And I create a new material. Then I add an image texture. And select a repeating RGB texture. It doesn't look too great currently, but we'll fix that. In UV editing, unwrap your mesh. And adjust the scale as desired. Don't worry if it's not perfect, we can adjust it later. Back in the shader editor, replace the BSDF texture by an emission texture and a transparent BSDF. Connect both of them in a mix shader and connect the RGB to emission. You can see it's not transparent if you're in EEVEE. And to adjust that, go to your texture setting and change the blend mode to alpha blend. It doesn't look great for now, but we'll get much better result when adjusting the helmet colors. Okay, now let's animate this texture by adding a mapping and texture coordinate. Connect them, adjust the scale if you want to, and then animate this texture by writing #frame divided by 180 in the X location. The bigger this number, the slower it will move, and the smaller this number, the fastest it will move. Adjust it as you like. Okay, now that we have this texture moving, let's go back and adjust the colors a bit. For the helmet, I prefer to have a different color just for the background, because I found that darker colors work better. Then adjust your eyes to the color you like. And if we zoom in, you can see there's shadow in there. I would prefer to remove them. So one method is to go to settings, shadow mode, and none. But I found that I prefer the result if I just change the color to background. But this part is up to you. I do the same for the base of my screen. And this is the result. We can now bring back our screen and it already looks better. I'm pretty happy with the result we got. So that's it for today. Thank you and subscribe for more tutorial and showcase.